Now, danger at the U.S. border. As we've told you previously, 1/3 of migrant women and children have reported sexual abuse on their dangerous trek to America. Now, according to Texas Governor Greg Abbott, these individuals are still not safe in U.S. custody. Earlier this week, he launched a full investigation into allegations of child abuse, including sexual assault, at a San Antonio facility. It could be happening elsewhere, but Child Protective Services has not been allowed in to check. Wyoming Senator John Barrasso with me last Sunday on the public health crisis he witnessed in Donna, Texas.
And I watched them be tested for coronavirus. They had them in a courtyard. All of these young people, this is after they have been there. They're only allowed to be there for 3 days by law. You wouldn't want your own kids to be there for 3 minutes, but many are staying there for up to 10 days. They're being tested the day that they leave. We put them all in the courtyard. They do the instant test. And then those that have been tested positive are just kind of moved to one side of the courtroom, those negative to the other of this courtyard. But I will tell you, Maria, they've all been exposed, and then they're sent all across the country.
Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan and 6 other House members visited that same facility earlier this week. Congressman Jordan joins me now with his findings. Congressman, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks very much for making that dangerous trek down there. The senators were able to take some pictures, but then they were told to delete the pictures. Your group was barred, period, from taking any pictures, right? When your team asked written permission to film, they were told by Biden's handlers, it's a moot point.
Yeah, we were told that, and press wasn't allowed in. Even when Secretary Mayorkas went down this past week, Maria, the press weren't allowed in. So Joe Biden won't go down. The president won't go to the border. The vice president won't go to the border. Press aren't allowed in. And the reason that the press aren't allowed in is because they don't want the American people to know what's going on. The senator was right. These conditions are just not appropriate at all. One pod that we looked at in the Donna facility, the same facility the senator was talking about, there were supposed to be 33 kids in this area. There were 527. That's what the conditions are like. And the other thing, and I think this is key, if the press were allowed in, the Border Patrol agents would tell them exactly what they told us, namely that the reason for this is because of the policy that Joe Biden has now adopted, which is we're not going to keep people in Mexico. The policy that President Trump had, we're not going to keep people in Mexico while we evaluate to see if they can actually come into this country. That single policy is what's driving this huge volume. The huge volume of people coming is what's driving the terrible conditions and the harm that has been done to some of these young kids, as Governor Abbott has talked about.
Yeah, we're showing some of the video and pictures that you were able to capture. We are showing them while you're speaking. The Biden administration is spending $60 million a week to shelter minors, Congressman. I mean, I think it's extraordinary that the administration, rather than trying to stop the flow, they're actually expanding the capacity in this country to hold them, but nothing to do to stop the flow of migrants coming. They overturned Trump policies, changed, remain in Mexico, stopped construction of the wall, catch and release. Unless they go back to those policies, it's hard to believe that this stops.
And it almost makes you reach the conclusion that this is what they want, because you're exactly right. The Remain in Mexico policy they undid. They announced to the world that we're not going to finish the wall, and they announced to the world that we're not going to deport anyone. When you do that, everyone starts coming. 16,000 kids are being housed right now. The turnover time for those kids is 24 days before they're sent somewhere else in our country. And they expect that number to go from 16,000 to 60,000. So think of the volume, the hundreds of thousands of children that are coming in and families coming in and being moved across the country at a cost of $60 million a week right now. Of course, that cost is going to go higher. Why don't they use some of that money to actually complete the wall, to finish the wall? I mean, that would be better. 40% of Border Patrol agents' time is spent processing these folks versus patrolling the border, as we would expect as American taxpayers for them to be doing. So this is a huge problem and something that just frankly has to change. But the only way it can change to get back to some kind of control of the border is to go back to President Trump's policies, something I don't think the Biden administration is willing to do. I wish they would, though.
Well, it's just extraordinary how much misinformation that they're spewing out as well. Nancy Pelosi continues to blame the Trump administration. As extraordinary as that sounds, here she is this past week. Watch this.
The fact is that we're on a good path. at the border under leadership of President Biden. It's about three things. It's about restructuring how we do what is happening there, because we were in a very bad situation under the Trump administration.
I mean, we've seen the charts, we've seen the numbers, Congressman.
Yeah, and she needs to go down and herself and talk to Border Patrol agents, because they would tell her that we are on anything but a good path. In fact, this is so overwhelming, such chaos on the border, that 3 days into the Biden administration, they set up a special facility to process families faster. And now when families, and we saw these families, we saw them when we were out at night, we saw them walking, coming out of the brush, walking to this facility. They know where to go. This facility in Texas, where they process them, and within 8 hours, these families are put on buses, put on planes, and they're sent somewhere to in the United States. So for her to say that is just absolutely 100% wrong, not consistent with the facts, not consistent with what every single border agent told us. And these border agents, by the way, Maria, they are busting their tail, trying to do their work as best they can under extreme circumstances, under chaos and crisis at the border. They're doing a great job, but it's just overwhelming right now because of the policies, unfortunately, that the Biden administration has adopted.
Congressman, this is just one policy out of an incredibly radical agenda. I got to get your take on everything else. He's got an infrastructure plan that he's calling infrastructure, but it's more of the Green New Deal. Is that a fair statement? And what about this commission that Biden is putting together to study packing the Supreme Court? You've got more spending, $4 trillion in taxes are coming, and perhaps the potential of a change in the Supreme Court, Congressman.
Yeah, I mean, what do we need a commission for? We already know where the Democrats are at. They want to try to pack the court. They want to pack the court because right now there's more conservatives on the court than they like, and there's a majority of conservatives that President Trump was able to put on the court. So, I mean, I guess they're going to put together a commission, but we already know where Democrats want to go. It's all about raw political power. House bill. I mean, think about in the last 6 weeks, Democrats in the House. Thank goodness for the filibuster because it hasn't went through the Senate yet. But Democrats in the House have passed legislation that would radically change election law in House Bill 1. They passed legislation that would radically change police law. They passed legislation that would radically change gun law. And 3 weeks ago, they passed legislation that would radically change immigration law at the very time there's a crisis on our southern border. They passed 2 bills that would give amnesty between 2 and 3 million illegal immigrants. This is just raw political power and radical policies that are coming from the Democrats. We better hope that Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema keep their word and we don't get this filibuster change in the Senate, because if we do, all this stuff is actually going to become law.
And it's the reason that all of these AGs are suing this administration. Congressman, many people hope you could do something about this. We're watching all of your battles. Congressman, great to see you this morning. Thank you, sir. Jim Jordan joining us in Ohio.